Hello there, I'm Hire, and this is my scrolling platform tutorial. So we're going to be creating something similar to what you're seeing on screen right now. So this is a pretty simple tutorial, and it will be separated into a few parts. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the tutorial. So, to get us started, we're going to go to this scrolling platform assets project. The link will be in the description if you're wondering. And now once we're here, we're going to press this remix button, which will save this project as a copy for ourselves. So now that we're in this project, go to the Events tab and drag out one green flag click block. Now bring out a broadcast block, and we're going to broadcast start game. So now when we receive this start game broadcast, go to control and bring out a forever loop. So now we could just put our code in here, but a better use of our space would be by putting everything in a custom block. So the way we can do this is by going to this My Block section and hitting this Make a Block. So now call this Platforming Physics Engine. So now add an input and call it Speed. And add another input and call it Friction. And make sure to run without screen refresh. So now we're going to put this in this forever loop. And as you can see, there are two little holes. The first one represents our speed, and the second one represents our friction. So we're going to set our speed to 1 and our friction to 0.85. You can set these to any value you want, but just make sure for the friction, your value is less than 1, so it's a decimal number. Now in this define block, go to control and bring out an if. Now before we do any more coding, make sure to stop the project. It can save us more time later on. So now go to sensing and bring out a key right arrow pressed. So if key right arrow pressed, now go to variables and make a new variable. Let's call it xvel with an underscore, and for this sprite only. So the reason we put this underscore is so that we can remind ourselves that this is for this sprite only. So now we're going to change our x velocity or xvel by speed when the right arrow key is pressed. And now duplicate this code and do the same for the left arrow, but instead of changing our x velocity by speed, go to operators and bring out a multiplication sign. So we're going to multiply by -1. So now when we multiply our speed by -1, it's basically just changing x velocity or xvel by -1, because anything multiplied by -1 is the opposite of itself. So yeah. Now here, if we run the project and we try to move left and right, it's not working. And this is because we're only changing the variables. So we need to change our player's position. So go up to motion and bring out a change x block. We're going to change our x by, now go down to variables, and bring out xvel. So now, if you're like me and you pressed the right or left arrow key a bit too many times, then your player will be on either the left side or the right side. So the reason this is happening is because we're not setting our X velocity to 0 when the green flag is clicked. So in the start game loop, just make sure to set it to 0. So now, when we try, it works. But we're kind of slippery and we continue walking, even though we're not pressing the left or right arrow key. So what we can do is set our X velocity or XVEL, go up to operators and bring out multiplication, put friction in the second tab, and XVEL in the first tab. So now this will slow our player down. Now the way this works is, so you remember earlier how I said that this value has to be something less than 1. So 0.85 is less than 1. And if you know your multiplication, anything multiplied by 1 is itself, but since this is less than 1, it's obviously going to be lower than it would. It's going to be lower than what it's already going to be. So yeah, that basically slows the player down in our case. Now there's another problem we have. Our player just spawns wherever he pleases. So go up to motion and bring out a go to. Now put this in the start game, where I receive start game, and set our X to -42 and our Y to 28. So now we can move left and right. Now there is one more thing that we need to discuss in this video, and that is collision. So our chick, he can go right through this wall. So this is not very good, and the way we can fix this is by executing a simple script. So go to control and bring out an if. So if, go to sensing and bring out a touching block and set it to touching ground. So if we're touching the ground, we are going to go up to motion and bring out a change X block. So we're going to change our X. Now go to operators and bring out a multiplication sign. Go to variables and bring out an XVEL and a -1. And set our XVEL to 0. So now, if we run the flag and we drag him over here, he has perfect collision. Now, the way this is working is we're changing our X by XVEL multiplied by -1, and earlier from here, we know that anything multiplied by -1 is the opposite of itself, so it's basically pushing our player out of the ground. And now, you may have noticed, when you try to move when the green flag is clicked, it does not work. So we might want to set our Y value to something like 30 instead, so where he's not inside the ground already from the start. So, yeah, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.